I just can't stand the message that is often sold with innovation. It's the same message that is often sold for people pursuing PhDs and going into the research life is that everything is hunky dory and that it's going to be super fun, that it's glorious, that you're just going to be playing with toys all the time. And it drives me bananas because anybody that is serious in the profession that actually does real innovation and actually moves the needle, they will tell you it is grinding work of being rejected for years, and nobody cares about what you've actually done until you've done it and it's old and it's well past its prime. And it's a miserable process. There's literally all of the research. So there's a lot of the innovation research is biased heavily in the positive slant. And it's because the people have not actually done it, and that part actually gets filtered out a lot of the time. There's large selection processes that happen with all of this stuff. And so the only people that are actually promoting it are the ones that have done it, and they have some sort of incentive to promote it for you, to you, right? I want you to always think about that. What's the incentive of people promoting something to you and how glorious it actually is? And I always think about that, right? I remember, um, walking into I had shoulder surgery many years ago. I think it was like 8 years ago now. I tore a labrum riding my bike. I fell over. It was dumb. But I tore a labrum. I needed to get it repaired. And I remember walking into the doctor's office and he had a gold chain on, a great big gold chain, the surgeon. Um, and then he was just so nonchalant about actually getting this procedure done. He was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be totally fine." And the reason why is that he wasn't going through that, and he was selling something to me. They make money off of every surgery that they perform. And I think about that now all of the time with much of this work, right? In terms of how you get sold to that it's this glorious thing. But in reality, it's just slow, painful work every single day. And that's it, right? In all of the domains where you realize I got to get up and I got to do this. I don't want to do it, but I do it anyways. Right. And that's the step. That is it. And it's just repetition, repetition, repetition for decades and looking up eventually and looking around and saying, yeah, you know what? I actually did something. But the process of doing it, it's begging yourself to do it every day and realizing and thinking in your head that, yeah, you know what? If I don't do it, who else is going to do this? Nobody wants to do it. It is my responsibility to actually do this thing. It has very little to do with the sort of logic that everybody has. And there is some decision theory on this in the literature, but it doesn't get nearly as much play as the stuff where we sort of think about, people getting money, um, making a whole bunch of whatever, like just all of this sort of nonsense, this sort of glorious nature that you're going to play with toys all of the time. I see broadly, when people talk about innovation, they're almost always talking about some sort of toy understanding, and they're not doing the real work. The real work is, and this is the truth of it. It's trying to get A's in all of your assignments all of the time and doing that repeatedly for decades, right? It's working extraordinarily hard for a long time. It's like when people, people will say, "Oh, I did really well in high school," and you're like, did you? And then you go and look and they didn't really do as well as they thought. They had this sort of misperception of what it actually was. And the people that actually got straight A's, they will say, yeah, it was grinding work all of the time. Yeah, I had some fun, but it was grinding work and I had to make a lot of choices. And there was many moments where I wanted to cry because it didn't work out in the way that I thought it would. And that is the process. That is the raw process of what it is. I think human beings have this tendency um, to believe everything and everybody, right? We have that tendency, but also we have this tendency to forget all of those experiences that you go through. And it's easy to do that and sort of do a post hoc rationalization, what's called a post hoc rationalization, where you look back at what you did and you sort of think about, yeah, it was really great. Everything worked out, yada, yada, yada. In reality, when you went through it, you were profoundly nervous. You were profoundly thinking, like, this is a pile of crap. What am I doing? You were always thinking like that. And that's the truth, and that's what often prevents people. If you actually have real conversations with them and you look at why they don't do something, they will say, yeah, it sounds really, really fun. I really want to do that, but I'm not going to do it because it's too scary. You know, um, it's not nice outside, so I'm not going to go outside. It's, yeah, I know I should get some exercise, but, my wrist is hurting just a little bit and I'm not gonna try different exercises even though that my wrist is hurting a little bit. I'm just gonna stay at home, right? It's all of these little things that we do as human beings, and I'm not saying that that stuff is wrong. That's what it means to be a human being. I'm telling you the truth, right? What it means to be a human being, and you have to actively decide that, am I actually gonna do this? Am I gonna rise to the challenge and do this every day when it hurts and nobody is thanking you? You will do it, nobody will care, and you'll just keep walking forward. And that is the truth of doing anything that's innovative. That's the truth of doing anything that people will look with regard eventually, getting a PhD or, getting some sort of schooling or whatever, right? Like all of those things, or losing a bunch of weight, all of these things, it's the same mental process where you say, yep, I'm going to do this. It's going to be hard. It's miserable. I don't want to do it, but I'm just going to do it. And I don't know why I do it. And I can't explain why. It has very little to do with all of the glory and the fun stuff and all of that. But I'm just going to take a step forward today. I'm going to do that every day, regardless. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.